I just found out my sister's best friend, who also happens to be my doctor, got drunk and told her I've been secretly taking ADHD meds for years, and now I'm being begged not to report her. So my oldest sister's lifelong best friend has been my doctor for a couple of years. Initially my doctor, Dr. A, was a colleague of hers from the same clinic, but after my doctor, Dr. A, was away on maternity leave, I temporarily switched to my sister's friend, Dr. B, as my primary physician, and it's been that way since the pandemic began and I never switched back. I have ADHD and get prescription meds for it and have been for a few years now, something I haven't shared with any of my family members for fear of backlash since I come from a long line of type A overachievers who don't believe in ADHD and write it off as laziness. A few days ago, my siblings and I were hanging out at my sister's house watching the Matthew Perry, Diane Sawyer episode where he shares his history with substance abuse, and I made a comment about how skinny he looked during one of the seasons of Friends. My sister then, out of nowhere, says to me, "Well, it started with prescription drugs, so I hope you don't get hooked." I was instantly gripped with a feeling of absolute horror. My other siblings were confused and looking at her for further clarification, but she didn't say anything more. I spent the whole night just frozen and with a deep pit in my stomach. Later, when I found some time alone with her, I had to pry the information out of her. She had just gotten back from a girls' ski trip, and when they were extremely drunk, her friend, my Dr. B, slipped up and mentioned that she saw me recently for an increase in my dosage and basically revealed to my sister that I have been taking prescription Vyvanse for a few years now. I'm so livid, feel utter betrayal and have a strong urge to report her for breaking HIPAA regulations. My sister won't stop texting and calling me about it, literally all day long, begging me not to ruin her friend's life forever after years of hard work. She's obviously worried about losing her friend, but she couldn't care less about how disrespected I feel and how my privacy was violated. And more than anything, I worry that my sister will share it with my parents and my family will never look at me or my achievements the same. Added to add for a little more information, I've known Dr. B my entire life, as long as my sister has. She was my sister's friend since they were in first grade, and they've remained close, and we've hung out with our families on multiple occasions over the years. We've even gone on trips together, including my sister's bachelorette. I always looked up to her and found her cool growing up. She and my sister both have kids around the same age and they're close as well. She currently brings in the bigger chunk of the income in their family and they rely on it, and my sister keeps reminding me that I'm also ruining two innocent children's lives in the process, which is the only thing I feel guilt about. I adore those kids and they don't deserve that. But I also cannot get over how betrayed I feel. I always keep a safe distance between personal and professional relationships and would have never picked her to be my doctor had the circumstances not unfolded the way it did. She was the next best doctor and was the obvious choice because I wasn't really looking to switch to a new clinic during the pandemic. OP adds more info in the comments. OP on her sister's personality. Dr. B doesn't know that my sister told me yet. So far it's just been conversations between my sister and I. She's making it seem like they were so sloppy drunk that it was a slip-up and a complete one-time total accident, but I don't understand why that would even come up at all and don't believe that. My older sister flaunting sensitive info about my sibs and I is a tale as old as time. When we were kids, she would hold on to a secret she found out about one of us till the perfect moment, and would thrive on dropping the bombshell to our parents during a road trip or in the interval of a great movie and ruin the entire thing. It was her thing and I fear she hasn't fully gotten over the habit as an adult. My older sister considers herself our parent too and has always narsed or used stuff as leverage against us. I used to fear her growing up and would hide my journals at my friend's house because she would snoop. Definitely lacks empathy. Update, 3 months later. Thank you for all the advice and support on my original post. After reading the feedback, I reached out to a close lawyer friend for advice as well. And he, like most of you, agreed that I should report it and to do it without informing anyone else. He said it was better for me to do it sooner to have it on record. They prefer any complaint to be filed within 180 days of when you knew that the act or omission complained have occurred. 2 days after that I reported Dr. B to OCR for violating HIPAA and Patient Safety Act and breaching my fundamental right to health information privacy. I didn't tell my sister or anyone else, but a few days later, I saw my entire family when I went home for the holidays. I hadn't heard anything back yet on my complaint, so I wasn't sure if Dr. B was aware yet, let alone tell my sister that I had reported her, so I didn't say a word. Turns out that wasn't my biggest issue at that moment though. My sister had already told my parents that I was on an extremely high dose of controlled substances. I knew my parents wouldn't take this news well, but they were far more upset about it than I could have imagined. My dad doesn't believe in ADHD and thinks it's merely an excuse for those that allow themselves to get easily distracted, especially since the age of social media. He even remarked that he noticed I was quite slow with my responses since dropping out of my chess club. Really absurd and offensive comments. I can't even remember a lot of it because I was frozen. I just sat there, nauseous and livid, with tears in my eyes, just listening to the three of them, my parents and sister, take turns going off at me. My mom wanted me to stop all medications immediately, that I'm better than this and smarter than this, and even threatened to tell your professors that you're on drugs if you leave us with no choice. But when she said that, it hit me. I had a choice. I could choose. I could choose to never have to deal with this again and to not let them treat me this way anymore. So I did. I chose to say nothing and allowed them to interpret my silence as agreeing and submitting to their ways as I have done so many times before. And then I went to my room, chose to book a flight and pack up most of my stuff. My books would need buses of their own to be transported anywhere. The next morning, I chose to call an Uber a few hours before my flight, while they were still asleep, and flew back to my university. I chose me. In January, I found out that Dr. B had prior complaints from patients against her, and my report had opened an investigation that is currently ongoing. She's been placed on temporary leave till the case is resolved. I can't share more details on that for now, but I will come back and update once it's done. Relevant comments. Commenter, I also have ADHD and I studied neuroscience, partly because I wanted to understand. I also come from a family that thinks like ops and I got the same BS from them all my life. We now finally come to be able to make ADHD visible in MRI scans, and predict the presence of symptoms with an accuracy of up to 80%. We can make visible the ways ADHD brains are different from normal brains, not in their structure but in the way they make use of it. We can see where our bodies use more oxygen and neurotransmitters, and ADHD brains are visibly different from normal ones in a way that is congruent with the symptoms. We can even tell apart the inattentive type and the hyperactive type with an accuracy of up to 75%. People who say ADHD patients are lazy and their symptoms are their own choices and character flaw are as ignorant and backwards as someone still believing the flu is caused by bad air or cancer is God's will. If this family is so smart, they are doing a really good job at remaining ignorant. With all the evidence out there, they have to really choose not to read and educate themselves and become advocates for their child and sibling, but instead actively avoid the newest scientific evidence that their opinion is stupid and they have been shitty people all along. OP, it took me 30 years to make the step you made. Kudos on being so brave and mature while still being in college. I'm still trying to come to terms with self-doubt, imposter syndrome and depression. If you can afford it, do some therapy. Growing up in such a negative environment takes its tolls even after you cut the ties. I'm proud of you. The hurdles to get to where you are today were huge and you did it all by yourself. Never forget that. OP, I have tears in my eyes. I really needed to read every single thing you typed out here. I'm so tempted to send this to my family, but I don't want to interact with them right now, so I won't. I love science just as much as they do, and studying physics brings me so much purpose. I just know I need some help in staying ahead of my course and completing my assignments, and I'm finally okay with that. In the short time that I've been away from my family, I felt so much more freedom in accepting who I am. That I am still smart and capable, and that I will still become a scientist, even if I do it my own way, and I am okay with the fact that my family doesn't approve of my choices. If they can't be bothered to listen to me, let alone attempt to learn anything about my diagnosis and try to be there for me, they aren't worth worrying over. I have spent far too much of my life doing that already. I have no more time or energy to give to that anymore. I'm channeling all of that towards me, achieving my goals and healing my trauma. Thank you for listening and for sharing. I'm so grateful for you. OP on her family, it's their whole image. We come from a long line of scientists and many of my family members have a PhD. And as far as I know, none of them have been officially diagnosed like I have, or maybe they struggled with it secretly, but their work ethic and achievements are everything to them and they would never reveal anything that would show otherwise. It's the way we were raised and I didn't know anything else for most of my life. Anyone who couldn't pay attention was distracted in their eyes. Nothing more. OP makes a new post, 3 weeks later. The worst part about going no contact with your sister, missing out on getting to hang out with your niece and nephew. I don't know how many of you have actually gone no contact with your family, especially to the extent that I have currently. But I'd love to hear any advice you might have. At this point, I don't have any form of communication with my parents and older sister and haven't since December. The most awful part about this whole thing is my inability to reach out to my young niece and nephew who I'm so close to. Every year I receive a Valentine's Day card from them and this year I got none. It's incredibly lonely and I don't wish this on anyone. I'm always wondering why they think I haven't called them. As much as I'm growing and healing from this, I'm also dealing with a lot of trauma and it's rough. Relevant comments. OP, on learning about herself. I think it's so hard for me right now because for years so much of what mattered to me was getting approval and being good enough for my family, especially since they're all overachievers and place a lot of value in academic excellence. And to feel no support from them at a time when I could really use it. I've never felt so alone and just out of place in this world. But I'm also learning a lot about myself and how codependent I was and relied too much on their opinions to ever even form strong ones of my own. So the bright side to this is figuring myself out. OP, on losing her sister, I've been having an extremely hard time the last few days dealing with this. I'm looking forward to when I can say my life is much healthier and happier without my sister. I know it will come, but right now, I'm just experiencing so much sadness as a younger sister who looked up to my sister so freaking much. All I wanted was to be good enough for her to be proud of me or think I was worthy of her time and attention. But I'm not, and coming to terms with that is brutal. Second update, 2 weeks later. Thank you to every single person that has commented, reached out via DM or shared any advice with me. My ADHD and current anxiety has me extremely overwhelmed, so please excuse me for not being able to respond to each of you individually. I get quite a few questions every day about any update with the case. I'm not sure how so many of you are still finding this post, but I really appreciate everything you've said to me to help me get through this. I'm sorry I can't answer any questions right now. Please know that once I have enough to share or any real information, I most certainly will, but for now, there isn't much. The only thing I can share is that I am currently working with an attorney well versed in HIPAA violations who is handling the matter on my behalf. We have received a notice regarding the outcome of the investigation from the OCR, which I am not allowed to share yet. I'm not sure if we, along with the other patients who face breach of privacy from the same doctor, will be sued, because that's usually the most unlikely outcome since it almost always falls on the employers rather than the doctors. I've been told we might proceed with a civil claim. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved and it seems quite complicated, so I don't have a timeline on what to expect yet. I'm just grateful to have a lawyer that knows what they're doing. Thank you for your support. It's been the most hardest and lonely period of my life, and your kind words helped me get through it. OP makes a new post. 1 month later, I just found out that my family cut me out of their insurance plan and I no longer have access to health coverage, including my prescription meds for ADHD or therapy, both of which I really need right now. What are my options? I'm a full-time student under the age of 26, and my health insurance so far had been included in my family's plan under dependent coverage extension. A few months ago I went no contact with my family after they found out I was on prescription Vyvanse for my ADHD, something they absolutely do not believe in and refused to support me. 2 weeks ago, I found out that they have taken me off their health plan and have pretty much left me to fend for myself. I haven't been able to get my meds this month and it has been awful. Since I study full-time, my only means of income is a part-time TA job on campus, which is currently on hold since the semester has ended, and some tutoring I do during my very limited free time. I'm struggling and on the verge of a mental breakdown and could use any advice I can get. What options do I have to get some health coverage or any assistance whatsoever? Sorry if this has been hard to read. My eyes fill up with tears anytime I try to type this out. Final update, 2 weeks later, farewell and thank you for your support. I hope you read this. Hello everyone. I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you who have reached out, offered advice or a safe space for me to be heard, and provided so much support during my time here. I was so incredibly lonely after making the difficult decision to go no contact with my family, so it was so nice to see all your sweet messages and advice. However, amidst this awfully painful period that I wouldn't wish on anyone, I discovered a newfound sense of belonging provided by all of you compassionate strangers of Reddit. To those of you that were proud of me, I cried a long cry for every single time I read those words, and I will carry them with me till the very end. Science is my purpose here. I will rise again and hopefully help change this world for the better someday. As I embark on a healing journey, I've decided to take a step back from here. As someone navigating ADHD, I can sometimes become overwhelmed with feedback. Therapy has taught me the importance of focusing on my mental well-being, and given the financial challenges I'm facing and ongoing legal issues, I will be working 2 jobs to make ends meet and afford the healthcare and stability I need while I'm off from school. I cannot express how much your support has meant to me, but at this time, I must prioritize my responsibilities and take care of myself. Till I'm back, I want to leave you with a quote that resonates deeply within me: pass on the kindness of strangers, for they have the power to mend the broken and inspire the lost. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for becoming the family I needed when I felt most alone. May your lives be overflowing with happiness, love, and success. Take care.